Hello, friends. Today, I'm going to tell you about a movie called Old Henry. Enjoy watching. Old Henry tries to forget about his past and leads an ordinary farming life, but everything changes with the appearance of one stranger. A man is hiding from a chase in the woods. He is a criminal, and there is a corresponding mark on his arm. Hiding behind the trunks of fallen trees, he shoots back from his pursuers. However, the chances of escaping are small because the opponents are not only armed with firearms, but also move on horseback. With the last of his strength, the hunted runs through an open field where he becomes an easy target. The sheriff knocks him down with one shot from his gun. The fugitive needs information about his partner, who escaped with a bag full of money. The wounded man doesn't tell them anything, so the sheriffs have one proven method left: to get information on pain of death. They put a noose around his neck and tied to a horse, drag him along the ground. It works. The exhausted prisoner says that his partner went east to the territory of the Indians and most likely will not be able to get far, as he is wounded and very bad. It does not help to avoid death. The sheriff strangles the criminal with the same rope that helped to find out the truth. Old Henry leads a measured farm life. He has a small house in the vicinity of Oklahoma. His wife died 10 years ago from tuberculosis. He lives with his son, White. Not far from them is Al's brother-in-law's house. He sometimes helps Henry with hard work because his son does not want to work and be a farmer like his father. Al is going to go hunting, and Henry sends his son to help him saddle a horse so that he does not sit idle, and he remains to swing a pickaxe. The guy talks in general about how he would like to go hunting with him because it attracts him much more than digging in the ground. Al tells him he'll be able to shoot soon if he wants to. Henry and his son are harvesting firewood. The guy asks his father why he became an ordinary farmer. Their conversation is interrupted by the appearance of a lone horse on the hill. The saddle is covered in blood. Her rider was clearly in trouble. Henry goes to look for him and leaves White at home despite the request to go together. A farmer brings a wounded rider home. The man is very ill, and White volunteers to go for a doctor, even if he has to ride a horse all night. Henry doesn't agree to that. He clearly knows how to handle a gunshot wound and calmly does it himself. White wants to put a pillow under the man's feet, but Henry forbids him to do it. Next to the body, Henry found a revolver and a bag with money, which he decides to hide in a hiding place. White has been watching him all this time. In the morning, the stranger is still unconscious. For the safety of himself and White, Henry ties his hands tightly to the bed. He leaves his son to look after him under the pretext that he will go for a doctor himself because he needs to extract the bullet. Meanwhile, the sheriffs are looking for a trace of the fugitive. The weather is rainy, and it is difficult to do this. One of the sheriffs is Mexican. He's a professional detective, and yet he finds a trail. Henry is leaving home. At this time, White climbs into his father's hiding place, where he finds money and a revolver. He is drawn to weapons. Finally, he has a revolver in his hands. A happy guy goes outside to practice shooting and hits the target with several attempts. The wounded man is dreaming at this time. This is a memory from his childhood. There is a fire around, and he sees a man who tells him, "Keep your head down and you will be safe." White returns the revolver to its place. His curiosity is attracted by the chest in the hiding place. He examines the contents and sees old newspaper clippings with articles and photos about Billy the Kid, a known criminal in the past. But then he hears sounds from the room where the wounded man is lying and goes to him. A worried Henry is looking around the neighborhood at this time. He understands that someone is obviously looking for a man with a bullet in his chest and a bag of money. He sees 3 unknown horsemen in the very place where he found the wounded fugitive. The Mexican notices that someone was covering their tracks here and did it very professionally. Watching the riders, Henry accidentally gave away his location. The trio heads towards the sound, weapons ready. The farmer manages to hide from them unnoticed. Meanwhile, White goes to the patient's room. He came to his senses and freed his hands, and it is clear from his appearance that he is dangerous. The man is trying to find out where he is and who else is in the house. Realizing that there is only a defenseless teenager here, he grabs a knife, attacks the guy, and tries to find out where the bag with money is. At this time, Henry returns. He disarms a dangerous person as if it were a common thing for him. First, he hits him right in the wound, then in the face, and takes the gun off the wall to finish him off. White is scared and stops his father. They tie up the fugitive again. Henry is going to pull the bullet out of him and ask him a couple of questions at the same time. To do this, he heats up the knife over the candle flame and ruthlessly stabs into the wound. During the torture, the man claims that he is the sheriff. Henry and White don't believe him. Why would an honest sheriff hide with a bag of money? However, Henry stops the torture and takes out the bullet with a medical clip. The riders we already know appear on the hill. The fugitive man does not see them but accurately describes this trio. It is from them that he is hiding because this gang of dangerous criminals. Henry quickly prepares to meet them with weapons. He pulls out a revolver and smells gunpowder. The man realizes that while he was not at home, White used a weapon. The man calmly and confidently meets the sheriffs on the porch. He keeps the revolver in plain sight. The gang leader's name is Sam Ketchum from Woods County. He and a friend are looking for a fugitive criminal who, like him, appears to be the sheriff. His name is Curry. The man is injured and dangerous. He is asked if he has seen such a person here, to which Henry does not give a specific answer. Ketchum then asks the farmer about himself. He says he saw a long-ago grave with the name Hobbs McCarthy. Henry replies that McCarthy is his last name and Hobbs is his wife's brother's last name. After learning the farmer's last name, Ketchum remembers that a long time ago, a guy gave him trouble in Arizona near New Mexico, and his last name was also McCarthy. Henry denies his kinship with that criminal, says that all his relatives are dead, and asks the sheriffs to leave. Ketchum advises Henry to lock the door for the night, and the trio leaves. Henry returns to the house and scolds his son for going through his things and using a weapon. The man does not want his son to lead such a life as he did in his youth, and tries to protect White from this with prohibitions. In response, he calls him a stupid, worthless old man who has achieved nothing in his whole life except a miserable farm and a son who will leave him to die alone at the first opportunity. Henry begins to think. He is trying to figure out if the sheriff is the person who is in his house, or if the representatives of the law are the people who are near his house right now. At the same time, the Trinity is discussing what to do next. They realize that the wounded Curry is hiding in the old farmer's house. The leader Ketchum strictly forbids his accomplices to come to Henry and kill him, because he noticed that the man was holding a revolver not at all like an ordinary villager. He instructs one of the gang to keep an eye on the house so that Curry does not run away with their money. He and his second accomplice will go to hire shooters and visit the farm of Hobbs, Henry's brother-in-law, to find out more about the suspicious farmer. When it got dark, one of the bandits goes out to spy on the house. Curry is still there and his hands are tied. Henry feeds him from a spoon and continues to interrogate him. Curry tells how, as a young man, he started working as a sheriff's deputy in Baxter Springs in Kansas. When he talks about his life, he names exactly the facts that Henry is familiar with. Curry also sincerely apologizes for the attack on Henry's son. After hearing this, old Henry begins to trust him and is inclined to believe that he is telling the truth, so he frees one of his hands so that the man can eat himself. However, as soon as Henry leaves to pour milk, Curry immediately looks at the revolver left on the edge of the table. He also remembers the criminal Billy the Kid. Carey says that he saw with his own eyes how he was brutally dealt with. He was a boy then, working in the stable and cleaning the stall. He tells Henry in detail how the murder happened and that he saw Billy the Kid before he died. He then told him, "Keep your head down and you will be safe." Curry says he was shot twice in the chest and his bloody body was taken away under a sheet. Then Curry definitely decided that he would never be a criminal himself. After hearing this honest story, Henry frees the man's other hand and asks him to leave right now. He, without fear, gives him the revolver and leaves to bring a bag with money. The bandit who was watching the house suddenly starts a shootout. At this time, Curry was injured and fell unconscious. A frightened White appears, who was also hit by a bullet. However, he tries to grab a revolver to engage in a shootout. Henry leaves the gun to his son. He himself goes into the yard with a gun, quickly finds a bandit under the house, and brutally kills. When there is no danger anymore, White goes out on the porch. Despite the fact that he is reaching for a weapon, but is not ready to become a killer. Henry drags the dead body to be eaten by pigs and notices the mark of a bandit group on the wrist of the corpse. Henry is treating his son's wound. The guy bluntly says that he saw everything in the cache and wants to know who his father really is. He replies with restraint that he did terrible things before White was born, which he regrets. Ketchum and an accomplice visit the Hobbs farm. Al calmly plucks birds after hunting. The couple is trying to get information from him about Henry McCarthy. The man feels danger, but is not going to answer questions. He retreats to take the gun, but the Mexican manages to knock him out with a strong blow to the head. In the morning, Curry regained consciousness, but he is in a terrible state. He suggests that Henry pick up White and leave quickly, and he will detain the bandits here as long as he can. For the sake of saving his son, Henry agrees to this. The horses are saddled, but the heroes do not have time to leave. Ketchum appeared. He brought a gang of hired shooters with him. Ketchum offers a good deal. Henry must give Curry away, and in return, he and his son can leave alive. Negotiations do not lead to an agreement. Then Ketchum brings out Al Hobbs, beaten to blood, tied to a horse. Now Ketchum is offering an exchange. For Henry, there is only one solution to this situation. He goes to the hiding place and pulls out a weapon. An armed man comes out on the porch. Ketchum makes a final offer to trade Al for Curry and disperse without blood. Henry offers his deal in return. He will leave everyone alive if they leave his brother-in-law and get off his property right now. After that, it becomes clear to everyone that a bloody massacre cannot be avoided. However, Ketchum deliberately delays time and distracts Henry with empty conversations, and then grabs a weapon and mercilessly kills Hobbs with a shot to the head. A hell of a shootout ensues, and Henry hides in the house. He tells his son to be quiet, and then he will remain whole. Wounded Curry, nearby, hears these words, and he hears them not for the first time. He realizes that in front of him is the famous Billy the Kid. Billy the Kid puts on his holster and hat and goes out on the porch. He's not afraid. He is cool and calm in front of his enemies. Ketchum got the first bullet. A deadly shootout ensued. The mercenaries have surrounded the house, but Billy the Kid easily destroys everyone. The last one left was a Mexican. Billy is pointing a revolver at him. As in his youth, he holds his hand straight and confident, but he is not going to kill him, but wants to hand him over to the local sheriff. That would have happened, but the Mexican made an attempt to attack him with a knife, for which he was killed. It seems that the slaughter is over, but Billy the Kid notices that Ketchum's body is gone. Immediately, a shot sounds. The cowardly Ketchum attacked from an ambush. The opponents rewarded each other with a couple of bullet wounds. Shooting back at Ketchum, Billy deliberately takes him away from home because his son is there. The shootout continues in the forest. Opponents do not spare cartridges and constantly reload their weapons. Billy chooses a good moment when Ketchum is left without ammunition, makes several accurate shots, and knocks the bandit down. No longer hiding, he approaches to finish off Ketchum and mercilessly shoots him right in the head. Billy was wounded, but there were no fatal wounds. Curry is in the worst condition. Father and son sit him down to treat another wound. Billy sends his son to get water. To make a bandage and stop the blood, Billy tears off the sleeve of Curry's shirt and sees a bandit's mark on his bare shoulder. Curry realizes that Billy can kill him, so he shoots him in the stomach. Billy falls to the floor. This is a fatal injury. While he's dying, Curry tells the whole truth. He really is the sheriff. He and his partner were forced to work with Ketchum in the spring. So they solved several cases, but found out that the gang was going to get rid of them, so he ended up on the run. Curry feels sorry for the old man because he was very kind to him, but the sheriff is more proud of the fact that he will kill the famous Billy the Kid. He stands over him to take the last shot, but White makes the last deafening shot. He shoots Curry with a shotgun. Old Henry is dying in front of White. At parting, he tells him that after his gangster youth, he found solace in raising such a good son. White buries his father next to his mother. He decides to leave the farmhouse, packs up, saddles a horse, and sets off. Thank you for watching this video.